Okay, 1 Enoch 73. And after this law I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon, and her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in definite measure, and her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun, and when her light is uniform, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun. Therefore she rises, and her first phase in the east comes from forth on the 13th morning, and on that day she becomes visible, and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 13th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the one half of her goes forth by the seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty, without light, except for 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of a half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of one part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14 parts. Wow. And the half of one of them. Let me reread that from here. 1 Enoch 73:7. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of the one part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun, and is invisible that night with the 14 parts, and the half of one of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Wow. Context explained. The creation. Next, Uriel revealed to Enoch the lesser light, the moon, and how her shape is like the circumference of the firmament. The moon also has a mechanism that helps her traverse and is moved by the winds of heaven. The moon's light is documented as brightening and dimming through portions of 7. Supporting scriptures. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars as well. God set these lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth, to preside over the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day. Genesis 1:16-19. These 4 great works God created on the 3rd day. And on the 4th day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set him in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And God appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. Jubilees 2:8 and 9. That's it.